Welcome to the final clue of the Color Popportunity socks. So by now you have your leg, cuff, heel, and the top foot, but we need to make it a sock. So to begin, pay close attention to your written instructions along with this video tutorial, because we're going to pick up along those gusset edges, and we'll continue with your heel turn stitches. So we're going to knit back and forth by picking up stitches. So we'll be working these from the heel, and then as you knit those stitches, we're going to attach your rows to the edges of the top foot. So basically we're going to build the bottom of the foot fabric and attach it to the top foot as we knit. Have you ever done that before? Maybe with that Vertices Unite modular type of construction. We're going to apply those really cool West Knit shawl shaping principles to our feet and build the fabric until we have a foot, and then we'll finish it with a contrast color pop toe. So pay close attention to these little technique tutorials, and if there's ever an easy moment, then you can skip ahead in the video using the timestamps linked down below, and skip ahead to the moments you want to watch. And then later in the video, I'll show you where I'm at with my picking up and show you about the length of the foot. We want the final length of the top foot and this new bottom foot as it becomes attached. We want the final length to reach just below the tip of your pinky toe. And then when if this is the pinky toe right here, once your foot measures just below that, then we can start making the toe and decreasing for the toe. But make sure you get a nice length that is just below your pinky toe. You don't want it much longer because we still need to do a toe after that. So try on the sock as you go, but first you can pick up and then follow the instructions as we do some gusset decreases with the main color, attaching the new section to our selvage stitches. If that sounds confusing, then just do exactly what I say to do, okay? You'll be fine, and just embrace your own pace, and we're gonna have a sock in no time. So let's get to it and finish our Color Popportunity socks. Let's pick up stitches for the gusset. This is the same technique tutorial for both the right and the left sock. You have either a garter stitch heel flap or a brioche stitch heel flap, and we're going to begin with the main color. Look at your heel flap on the right selvage of your heel flap, like this. We're going to pick up stitches along the edge. I'm showing for size 3, so follow the instructions along with this video for your size as I demonstrate the pickup and gusset instructions. And if anything is simple, you can skip ahead using the timestamps linked down below this video to skip ahead to other sections. Row 1 right side, using main color, pick up and knit 1, make 1, 8 times. That's for sizes 1, 2, and 3. You might need to pick up more stitches for the larger sizes. Pick up and knit 1, make 1. I'm going to do that 8 times. Pick up and knit 1, make 1, into each selvage stitch along the brioche heel flap. If you're picking up stitches along the garter stitch heel flap, then you're not going to be doing this make 1 technique. You're just going to pick up 1 stitch into each selvage stitch of your garter stitch heel flap. So you're starting in the same location for the garter stitch version, picking up 1 stitch for each selvage stitch. Follow your pattern closely as you pick up stitches. This should be number 7 and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we have 1. Oh, there it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. After you pick up from the heel flap, pick up and knit 1 final stitch along the right selvage. So that can be here, anywhere along this edge right here at the end of the right selvage. Get 1 more stitch. Knit the 20 live stitches from the heel turn. That might be 16, 18, 20, 22, or 24, depending on your size. Knit all of these live stitches from the heel turn. If you placed these live stitches onto waste yarn, then put them onto a spare needle so that you can knit them all. And for now, I'm going to use an extra double pointed needle when I'm about halfway through these stitches, just so I have a little bit of extra wiggle room. It's not totally necessary. You could do all of this on one needle or on your magic loop needle, but this is going to give me just a little bit more wiggle room. Pick up and knit one, make one 8 times along the left selvage of the heel flap. So go into each main color selvage stitch, pick up and knit one, make one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You should have stitches picked up along the left edge of your brioche heel flap. If you're doing the garter stitch version, then pick up and knit the number of stitches for your size, 1 stitch into each selvage stitch for the garter stitch version. After you pick up and knit those, we need to, for the brioche heel flap, we need to pick up and knit 1 final stitch along the left selvage. So anywhere here at the end of that edge, just get 1 more stitch picked up. Slip 1 picked up contrast color 1 selvage stitch with yarn in front. This is the first contrast color selvage stitch from the top foot. Do you see that little contrast color 1 selvage stitch right there? Pick up and knit both legs of that selvage stitch with the yarn in front. So your needle goes from right to left. You should have 51, 53, 55, 61, or 67 stitches. Continue to row 2. Row 2, wrong side, knit 2 together. This is that picked up selvage stitch together with that main color stitch. So knit these 2 stitches together like this. Purl to last stitch. I'm purling to the last stitch at the end of the wrong side row. And when you reach that last stitch, slip, slip, knit the last stitch together with the picked up contrast color 1 stitch, selvage stitch from the top foot. So slip the last stitch knitwise. It might be a little bit loose. I'm going to tighten that up a little bit. Slip the last stitch knitwise. And then slip a picked up selvage stitch, that contrast color 1 selvage stitch, like this. So you insert the right needle into that picked up contrast color 1 selvage stitch and knit those 2 together, like that. It's going to get easier. We're going to repeat that more and more throughout the sock. Go ahead and turn to the right side, and we're going to work gusset pattern repeat, row 3. Row 3, right side, slip 1 with yarn in front, place the yarn in back, knit 1, slip, slip, knit. Slip knitwise, slip knitwise, knit 2 together through the back. Knit to last 4 stitches. When you reach the last 4 stitches at the end of row 3, knit 2 together. Knit 1, slip 2 with yarn in front, the last stitch and the next picked up selvage stitch from the top foot. So bring the yarn forward first, slip 2 with yarn in front, slip the last stitch, and here is the next picked up selvage stitch from the top foot. So each time, the next time, you'll be getting the next selvage stitch along that top foot garter stitch. Row 4, wrong side, knit 2 together, knitting that picked up selvage stitch together with that next stitch, and then purl to last stitch. When you purl to the last stitch at the end of row 4, this is the last stitch, slip, slip, knit. So bring the yarn to the back, slip that last stitch knitwise, slip the next picked up selvage stitch from the top foot right here, and then we're going to knit those 2 stitches together like that for the slip, slip, knit. After each right side and wrong side row, 2 stitches are decreased. You're going to repeat rows 3 and 4 of the gusset pattern repeat 11, 10, 9, 10, 11 more times depending on your size. So follow the instructions for the number of times you need to repeat it. You should have 26, 30, 34, 38, or 42 stitches. So just keep on decreasing those gusset pattern repeat rows. You'll always be doing slip, slip, knit at the beginning of the right side to do the gusset decrease, and you'll be doing a knit 2 together at the end of the right side. And then don't forget, as you slip the stitches at the end of the right side, you're always getting the next picked up selvage stitch as you knit your bottom foot while attaching it to the edge of the top foot. And when you purl on the wrong side, the first thing you do is that knit 2 together at the beginning of the wrong side, and then purl all of your stitches, and you'll do that slip, slip, knit, knitting the last stitch together with the next picked up selvage stitch, like that. So always get the next picked up selvage stitch, and you'll gradually be joining this edge to the bottom foot fabric. Once you finish those gusset decreases, the bottom foot pattern repeat is exactly the same as what we've been doing and what I just showed, but you won't be doing that slip, slip, knit or that knit 2 together gusset decrease. So we'll be decreasing here at the edge on the right side. So you'll still be attaching your first and last stitches together. On the wrong side, you'll still be doing that knit 2 together, slip, slip, knit on the wrong side. But on the right side, you're going to have the same stitch count every row for the bottom foot pattern repeat as you build your fabric. I'm going to show you what that looks like on this sock. So this was my gusset. These were my gusset decreases for the bottom foot of my left sock. And this was the beginning. This was that slip, slip, knit at the beginning of the row. So this is what your gusset decreases are going to look like with the slip, slip, knit, or that knit 2 together over here. And then you stop the gusset decreases around here, and then you'll just keep knitting stockinette stitch back and forth while attaching it to the edge of your sock, all the way until you don't have any more edge stitches to attach. So the stockinette stitch will be attached along that garter stitch edge. And then some things to look at on my pickup and the edges. One of my stitches was a little bit looser, but that's normal. So you can expect maybe the edge stitch to be a little bit looser. If you want it to be tighter, you could maybe try a twisted stitch or just knitting that stitch really tight if you want it tighter. But when you wear the sock, it stretches out really nicely and doesn't look too noticeable. And then when you pick up along the brioche heel flap, you're going to get some little gaps here. Do you see these little spaces? That's normal. If you don't want those spaces from the brioche pickup heel flap, you could sew those together. You could take some yarn and do a little whip stitch later on the inside of the sock to help close that gap. But I like those little spaces there. They kind of echo the chevron yarn overs that happen in the leg of the foot. So then we have a nice little accent there for the pickup. And this is the beginning of the bottom foot. So keep on going, and I'll see you at the end of the bottom foot, where we'll do the toe. This is what the bottom of your foot should look like after completing all of those pattern repeats. All of this stockinette stitch is attached to the top foot. So just keep on going until you attach it to those final selvage stitches at the edge. If you find that when you're picking up and knitting that bottom foot together with the edge, if one side of your work is not quite the same as the other side, then you could skip a selvage, or you could go into the same selvage twice if you need to, but you want both edges, both sides of that bottom foot to reach the top foot fabric so that your work should look like this. Now, once you do that, we're gonna do the toe. I'm gonna do the toe because the length of my sock reaches just below the tip of my pinky toe. So if this was my pinky toe right here, you want your sock to reach somewhere around here. If your sock is way below your pinky toe after finishing those bottom foot instructions, then you can place all of your top foot stitches on the needle, your bottom foot stitches. You can work the next round with the main color, and then you could work some more rounds in stockinette stitch with the main color to get a little bit more length, or you could do it in a contrast color too. So you can get creative and just knit some stockinette stitch in the round with all of your stitches until the foot of your sock reaches just below the tip of your pinky toe, about right there. So I'm ready to do that. So I have all my stitches from the bottom foot on my needle, and then I have all of the stitches from the top foot on my needle, ready to work next round. Using main color, the main color is still attached. Knit the 34 bottom foot stitches, or that might be 26 or 30 stitches for you. So knit all of these stockinette stitches from the bottom foot. I'm working with DPNs, so I'm gonna start placing my stitches onto 4 DPNs to make it a bit more comfortable. If you're working the magic loop method, then you can continue working with your magic loop needles and having a little magic loop poke halfway through the round. But we're just knitting the bottom foot stitches, and whatever you need to do to get comfortable with your types of needles, you can distribute the stitches appropriately for your needle type. So those were all of the bottom foot stitches. All my top foot stitches are on my working needle. If they're on a waste yarn, then place those top foot stitches onto a working needle. I'm ready to continue next round where it says place marker. I'm working with DPNs, so I'm going to place a stitch marker into the fabric. If you're working with the magic loop technique, then you can place a marker onto your right needle tip right there. But place a marker. This is going to mark our decrease locations later. Continuing, we're going to knit 2 together from those top foot stitches. Knit 2 together, and then knit 32 for size 3. Follow your pattern closely so you're knitting the correct number of stitches for your size. Since I'm using my DPNs, I'm gonna stop halfway through the row or halfway through those top foot stitches and start working with my other double pointed needle. Basically, you're going to knit until you reach the final 2 stitches from the top foot. And then do a slip, slip, knit. Slip knitwise, slip knitwise, knit those 2 together through the back loop. And place another stitch marker. I'm working with DPNs, so I'm going to place a marker into the fabric like this to mark this beginning of round location. So this is my beginning of round. If you wanted to place a different color marker to mark the beginning of round, you could do that as well. So maybe this yellow one works better to mark the beginning of round. So I know that my yellow is the beginning, and then the black one is halfway through the round. And now is the point where I'm ready to work the toe for my size. I included some optional foot rounds, so if you want to keep on knitting, you could knit with your main color and just knit in the round until the foot reaches just below the tip of your pinky toe. But I'm going to go to the toe decreases. So I'm done with my main color, and I'm going to use contrast color 3 for the toe. You could use another contrast color if you like, but I haven't used much of contrast color 3, so I recommend using contrast color 3 to see more of that beautiful color for your toe. Round 1, toe. Using contrast color 3, knit to marker. We're just going to knit one round plain with the contrast color, knit all the stitches with contrast color 3. Pattern repeat round 2. I'm at the beginning of the round, knit 1, slip, slip, knit, and as I'm doing the beginning of this round, I'm going to do the Weavin Stephen. I'm going to trap these little yarn tails hanging and start crossing them on top of my working yarn. Knit to 3 stitches before marker, and after each stitch I'm going to cross these tails of yarn using the Weavin Stephen technique for about 10 or 12 stitches, and this will result in less weaving in of the ends later. Alright, that should be enough to secure those little yarn tails. Knit to 3 stitches before the marker, and then knit 2 together. When you reach 3 stitches before that marker, knit 2 together. If they're a little tight, you can loosen them up first. You can loosen them up first like this to knit 2 together. Knit 1, slip the marker. I'm using double pointed needles, so I'm not going to slip the marker. I'm just going to keep it in place in the fabric to mark that decrease location. So I know that the gap between my double pointed needles is the marker location. Knit 1, slip, slip, knit, and knit to 3 stitches before end of round. And then you'll do a knit 2 together, knit 1. So this is the end of round. So in these last 3 stitches right here, there will be a knit 2 together and then a knit 1, and then you'll knit 1 round plain for round 3 of the pattern repeat. And then keep on repeating those pattern repeat rounds. We're going to decrease for the toe using contrast color 3 to get a really beautiful toe. And I'll show you what that's going to be looking like. So this is what your decreases should look like. So keep on following the pattern repeat closely until you have 28, 32, 36, 40, or 44 stitches. If you're an experienced sock knitter and you like your toe to decrease more slowly or more quickly, you can feel free to customize your toe, but follow the toe decreasing 4 stitches every other round, and then you'll repeat round 2 only for a few more times until you have the final recommended stitch count. So this is what your toe fabric should look like, and then I'll see you later for the grafting of the toe. Once you complete repeating the decreases, we had the decreases every other row, and then every other round, and then every round to make that quick final decrease. I have 20 stitches remaining for size 3, so keep on repeating until you have either 16 or 20 or 24 stitches, depending on your size. Break contrast color 3, leaving a long tail, about this long, about 4 times the length of your toe stitches here, about 4 times the length of half of your toe. Just leave a long tail. And then you need to get your stitches onto 2 needles. So slip the stitches so half of them are on one of your needle tips, and then the other half of the stitches are on the other needle tip. If you're working with circular needles, then when you're looking at that broken tail of yarn of contrast color 3, you want the needle tips pointing to the right, and then your cord would be over here. With DPNs, it doesn't matter. Place that broken tail of yarn onto your tapestry needle to graft the remaining stitches together. Half of the stitches are on the front needle, half are on the back. Go through the first stitch on the front needle purlwise, and then go through the first stitch on the back needle knitwise. Now go through the first stitch on the front needle knitwise, take it off, and then go through the next front needle stitch purlwise, leave it on the needle. With the back needle, we go purlwise off, knitwise, leave it on. Front needle, knitwise off, purlwise, leave it on. Back needle, purlwise off, and then go through the next back needle stitch knitwise to leave it on. Keep on repeating that until you run out of stitches. And go ahead and pull the yarn a little bit tight. You don't want it to be super tight, but you don't want it to be too super loose either. Front needle, we go knitwise off, purlwise, leave it on. The back needle, purlwise off, knitwise, leave it on. Front needle, knitwise off, purlwise, leave it on. Back needle, purl off, knit on. I'll see you at the end of this grafting. When you're reaching the final 2 stitches of each needle tip, go through the front one knitwise off, purlwise, leave it on. The back needle, purlwise off, and knitwise, leave it on. And then you'll go through the very last front needle stitch knitwise, take it off, and then the back needle stitch purlwise, take it off. And then check your toe, and you just want to make sure that that final graft that we did isn't too tight or too loose. If it feels a little bit loose, you could pull on the stitches to tighten them up, but I'm quite happy with that. And we are done, except we just have to weave in some ends, weave in some remaining ends. So take those stitch markers out if they're in there, and let's learn how to weave in your ends. For this toe end, I'm just gonna poke it through the fabric anywhere here at the corner and flip my sock inside out to see the surgery situation that needs to be done. There we go. And for simple ends with garter stitch and stockinette stitch, I just go and look at the wrong side of the fabric, and I just do a whip stitch. You can weave in your ends however you like. This is how I do a little whip stitch to weave in my ends, and do it for about 10 stitches or so, and that should be enough. And once it's woven in, then you can cut the yarn right here
Don't cut it too close to the fabric. Give it a little bit of space so that there's room for it to nestle into the fabric. A lot of my ends were woven in with the Weavin Stephen technique, but I still have some ends remaining. So just check closely before you cut all of the ends to make sure. Oh, yep, that one was woven in using the Weavin Stephen technique, so you could cut that end right there. This one's not woven in yet. So where do I want to go with this one? I'll go into the matching bumps here. There's no right or wrong. And weaving in ends is also a good opportunity if there's any little gap you notice from picking up stitches. Sometimes that happens in the corners where you pick up stitches. You could weave in ends and sew closed the corners if you need to close any holes. I'll just do this a couple more times. And another trick, instead of going into each one and then pulling the needle through, you could go into a few of them with your tapestry needle tip, one right after the other, and then pull it through. And then you can do that a little bit quicker. So I'll do the rest of mine later. I just need to snip the ends, and then the very final step to finish your sock is to give it a nice wash. So when I wash my socks, I just soak them in cool water until the fabric is soaked, and then you could lay them flat to dry like this on a rug or a pillow and lay them flat to dry. Or if you have soccer blockers, if you have sock block little wooden or plastic forms, you could wet your sock and then place it onto that soccer blocker to smooth out the fabric. But there we have it, the finished Color Popportunity sock. I can't wait to see what your colors look like, so make sure you share your progress. And I'm just so happy with this really funky and fun construction of the Color Popportunity socks.
Well, thanks for participating in the surprise sock along. This was a really fun adventure getting these Color Popportunity socks formed, and I want to see how you wear your socks. So share those photos on Instagram and in the Ravelry group, in the surprise sock along Ravelry group. And don't forget to tag me or hashtag Color Popportunity socks. And I can't wait to wear mine and knit some new socks while wearing these socks. So if you love knitting these, we're going to do some more shawl knit-alongs later throughout the year. So you can always stay up to date with my newsletter at westknits.com. I'll be announcing the new mystery knit-along and the hybrid knit-along later this winter as those arrive. And if you want some more sock inspiration, there's a whole workshop I have on westknits.com for how to design your own top-down socks. So if you got really inspired by these fun constructions and stitch manipulations, you can learn how to design and form your own sock designs with that sock design workshop. And we're doing a West Knits Year of Socks as well. So stay tuned for the beginning of every month this year. There'll be a new sock pattern for the West Knits Year of Socks ebook. So you can sign up for all those things at westknits.com, and I just can't wait to wear these new Color Popportunity socks. So let me know if you enjoyed this knit along and if you'd like to do another one next year. I'm thinking about already what to do for next year's design. So we'll have some more fun throughout the year with more knit alongs, and thanks so much for joining along for this one. I'll see you later.